What a week. What a week. Since we last spoke, Liverpool have seen off Real Madrid, European and Spanish champions, seen off Man City, the English champions, done so to nil, done so 2-0 wins in both games. Should have been more, certainly in the Man City game. I mean, what a weekend. We'll talk about the City game in a bit more depth in a second, but I mean, you ready to crown Liverpool Premier League champions?
But do you know what the thing is about this week as well is that I just don't think it was that surprising, to be honest. I think, you know, when we spoke about it in the build-up, both kind of felt confident at Liverpool with the way they were playing and the way the two teams who were facing were playing, that, you know, that they could make a bit of a statement in this week, and that's absolutely what we saw. I mean, as you say, 2-0 victories, but they were both comfortable. Both probably could have been more as well, and Liverpool just kind of making a statement about what they are and what their aims are this season. And I think I'm not quite at the point maybe of saying that the Premier League title is done, but I think I could confidently say that Man City aren't going to be anywhere near it, not just on the basis of the gap, but the performances they're putting in this season. I think Liverpool have knocked them out of it now completely. And then their only concern there, really, you'd have to say, is kind of Arsenal, and you know, already 9 points back. They cannot afford a single slip up from this point onwards. So yes, looking pretty good. And I think as much as the gaps and where Liverpool are in the Champions League as well, it's just the level of performance at the moment is absolutely sensational. And that, for me, marks them out as kind of favourites in both competitions at the moment, although there is still a long way to go.
So you're now looking at Arsenal as the first gap rather than still one eye on City. How about Chelsea? They're in the mix. They've looked good this season. Would you put them in the title race? And obviously, you now think then Arsenal are the main competitors. They've looked good since the international break, that's for sure.
That's the thing. I think Arsenal are the next best team in the league at the moment. You know, they're definitely ahead of City in terms of performance level. And, you know, some of their drop points early in the season, they've had a bit of poor luck, haven't they, in terms of, you know, red cards in wrong moments, or, you know, in terms of the injuries that he had early in the season, and maybe suspensions building up at the wrong time. And that's why the gap is, you know, is a part of the reason that the gap is so big as well at this point. So I think they are the main contenders, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if they went on a run now of winning a lot of games in a row. Their big problem is that, despite that fact, the gap is already this huge, and you need a Liverpool collapse as well as for Arsenal to do what they're probably going to do, which is go on a run now. So that's the big problem for them. But I would say that you wouldn't say it was quite over yet, and that they are the main contenders for that reason. And Chelsea, I know they are kind of level on points with Arsenal, and level in terms of, well, level in everything, isn't it? Goals for, goals against, goal difference, obviously. But for me, I don't think they're quite there at that level. I think Arsenal will pull away from them if they do go on the run that I kind of expect. And I think the main thing with Chelsea that would concern me is that, you know, from their perspective in terms of being in the title race, is that I just don't think defensively they're quite there. They do concede a lot of goals and expected goals as well, whereas Arsenal have kind of conceded more than they would be expected to. So you expect them to be more solid going forward. Don't think Chelsea have quite got that balance yet. They've also got a very young squad. In first year with that new manager, hasn't, you know, collectively they haven't got the experience in terms of going deep. But I think they are nailed on for top four, but I don't think they'll be anywhere near the title conversation.
Yeah, from a Liverpool point of view, it's starting to feel a bit to me like that 2019-20 season, where you just build up that big gap and it doesn't really feel in doubt from maybe Christmas onwards. Got to get to Christmas, and it feels like we're saying this every week. Okay, you just got to get through this next week, and then, you know, you're in a much better position. But I mean, this is another huge week, isn't it? With 2 Premier League games, that's always a big week. There is a world where this time next week when we speak, the gap is 3 points. You know, there is that possibility. It doesn't look likely the way Liverpool are playing, but with those 2 Premier League games in a week for both Liverpool and Arsenal, and Chelsea, of course, and Man City, if you're going to them as well, it's just a huge week. And Liverpool have got a couple of tricky looking tests. Arsenal also got a couple of tricky looking tests, but you know, if Liverpool take 6 points from 6 this week, then again, I'm just feeling that bit more confident, because that's another big potential swing and potential test out the way.
Well, I think, you know, the first game in particular for Liverpool going to Newcastle, I think, you know, teams on the outside of this are kind of, or the rivals, or Arsenal fans in particular, I guess, are probably looking at this as a potential banana skin. Obviously, they were beaten by Newcastle at St James's Park early in the season. Newcastle also drew with Manchester City. They also, I think they beat Chelsea there as well. So they've got a good record at St James's Park. So this is one of the games where Arsenal fans have said, okay, well, look, Liverpool haven't played anyone away from home. This is one of the games where they can slip up, and they expect that they will. So Liverpool, it's another chance to go there and kind of prove a point that, you know, it is possible to go to these tough away games and get points. It doesn't just mean because Arsenal have had a tough start to the season that you have to drop points in every one of those games. So you've got to go there and kind of prove that point and go up against a Newcastle side whose form has started to slightly tail away as well recently, which is beautiful timing for Liverpool. So good opportunity to go there and kind of make a statement. And then, of course, Everton is, you know, they are low down the table. They are struggling, but we've seen over the years this has been a difficult fixture for Liverpool. Everton always up for it. You know, I've been there many times down the years, and the atmosphere is incredible, and that makes it really difficult. You know, kind of small stadium, but they're camped in, and the fans really on top of you can make it really difficult. So, you know, again, for Slot, it's an opportunity to prove that maybe he's slightly different to Jurgen Klopp in this regard, and he doesn't kind of have that mental block that Klopp seemed to have at Goodison. Didn't get many wins there at all. So it's, you know, that is a difficult fixture for Liverpool historically. So as you say, they come through these next two with 6 points, then, you know, if you're an Arsenal fan, your shoulders would drop. You know, it's another kind of tick in the box in terms of their credentials, and another worry of, well, where are they actually going to drop these 9 points that we need them to do? And in the meantime, we've got to be flawless. So it just puts a lot of pressure back on Arsenal if Liverpool can win these next two.
Yeah, what are the main pitfalls for Liverpool, do you think, from here on in? Is it, I mean, they've had quite a few injuries already this season, but is it injuries? We see the defensive problems at the moment. For me, Konate was a big blow. I don't think we've got an exact sort of timescale, but it sounds like from what Arne Slot was saying in the press conference today that he might be out until maybe the new year potentially. And I'd say with Conor Bradley and Tsimikas potentially as well. Is that the main pitfall? Is there, you know, maybe improvement from other teams after the January transfer window, things like that? How can you see Liverpool throwing it away from here?
I think it is injuries. I think that is the main concern they've got, because I think, you know, they don't even have to keep up this level of performance to go and win the title now. They have to perform at, you know, to say get to 90 points, they have to perform at the level of a kind of 84-point team. Whereas for Arsenal, they've got to perform at the level of a 99-point team. And this is an Arsenal side who've never hit 90 points. So, you know, this team. So, you know, for Liverpool, they can afford to let the foot off the gas a little bit and drop some points here and there. That's not a problem. It's just if things, you know, if they can, what Arsenal need is kind of a collapse in Liverpool. And the way that you can see that coming about is kind of similar to what happened last season, where injuries piled up, they became too much. Even when you were getting players back, they weren't in rhythm. The players who had played in the meanwhile had kind of put too much into it and were absolutely shattered by the end of the season. So that's a worry for Liverpool. And I think with the defensive injuries they've got at the moment, none of them are too far away. It's probably only get through this month and you're okay with Konate. Tsimikas might be a bit earlier than that. I think Bradley will be in January. But if you get one more defensive injury to someone like Joe Gomez, that's a huge blow. You don't have a lot of rotational options at right and left back now. It's that, you know, Gomez was one of them, but he's probably going to be needed at centre half. So that gets a bit tricky if they get one more defensive injury in this next month. But if they can come through that, then they really are well placed, because, you know, squad wise they've got a lot of depth. It's just if you get a concentration of injuries in a single position, it's very, very difficult to deal with. But I think that's the main threat really, because, you know, the other thing you could say is if they have a defeat, how do they react? But we saw against Nottingham Forest, the only defeat so far this season, they reacted to that fantastically well. So I'm not concerned about that. I think it's injuries is the big threat at the moment. Yeah,
that concentration in one area, was it 2020-21 after the season after we won the title, where just every centre back seemed to get injured? I think the one injury maybe you would say would be season changing from here on in is maybe Van Dijk, considering those other centre back injuries, but again only for that spell, because Konate is hopefully not too long term, things like that. So yeah, I think it would have to be a big old change of fortunes for Liverpool to throw it away here. I've seen some people be a bit reluctant to say it's Liverpool's to lose, but I mean, I'd definitely say that. I'll go that far, that it's Liverpool's to lose from here. Maybe not crowning them just yet, but 100% Liverpool should win it from here.
Yeah, it's just the pure maths of it, like I say, in terms of the rate that Arsenal have to win games at. You are looking at for them to get to 90 points, for them to win 21, 22 games, which is out of 25. It's just kind of, insane form that not many teams at all have kind of ever shown in Premier League history. And I'm absolutely convinced that they're capable of going on a 10, 11, 12 game winning run. They're very, very good side, but they need more than that, unfortunately, for them. And so it's not doubting Arsenal's quality or talking Liverpool up as, head and shoulders above Arsenal or anything like that. It's just unfortunate for Arsenal. The gap has got as big as it has because that is very, very difficult to pull back. And so, I think you can say not quite ready to crown Liverpool, as you say, but I think you can confidently say that they are huge favourites and that they would be, disappointed not to win it from here, to be honest. So, many, many tests for them to come, and I'm sure a few setbacks as well along the way, but they're huge favourites as things stand.